times are more dangerous. And on this gun issue, it is madness.
In New York State, we've been privileged to be at the forefront of some of the most comprehensive gun laws.
The red flag law is extremely important because it gives families the power and the tools when they recognize another family member at risk of harming themselves or others to petition law enforcement or the courts to safely store their firearms, if they should have them in the home, somewhere else until the risk is abated and that person can go through a due process to resume possession of their firearms.
It's been shown to reduce suicide as well as mass shootings and other forms of gun violence in other states that have this law.
It's a really important step forward in protecting people against gun violence.
You can easily be me, you can easily be holding your son's picture in your hand. I know that Americans can do more to keep our children safe.
Our obligation is to do what we can. We have the red flag law. It is a tool in your hands that can save lives.
So where do you go if you're like Alex Jones and you get kicked off of Twitter or Facebook? Or if you're a neo-Nazi that just has to have a swastika in their social media profile picture? Turns out there's a site just for you. There's tons of people on it. Gab is all about free speech, so
Gab is what it says on the label. Come for the Nazis, stay for the Nazis. It's a nasty platform. My name's Ethan Zuckerman. I direct the Center for Civic Media at the MIT Media Lab. I study social media, and in particular, its effect on activists, its effect on civics.
Would you say that these different theories, these conspiracy theories that have been targeting you, spun in part by folks like Mr. Stone, as well as fueled by Rudy Giuliani and others, basically have a tinge of anti-Semitism to them at least?
Well, certainly when they involve George Soros, they do. I'd just like to point out that in the early 1900s, the Tsarist secret police produced something called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which actually you can still obtain on the internet, and you can buy it actually sometimes in bookshops in Russia and elsewhere. This is the longest-running anti-Semitic trope that we have in history. And the trope against Mr. Soros, George Soros, was also created for political purposes. And this is the new Protocols of the Elders of Zion. I'd actually intended to write something about this before I was actually invited to come into the administration because it's an absolute outrage.
I'm sorry you've been kind of wrapped up in these crackpot conspiracies.
But the tweets I have seen today of Americans supporting Nick J. Fuentes in his anti-Semitic denial of the Holocaust are chilling. They have disturbed me like very little since that little girl came up to me, that 19-year-old snowflake, at my daughter's college graduation in May and called me a Nazi and a fascist because I worked for Donald Trump when my parents suffered under Nazism as children. And every caller who comes on today, you will be dealt with likewise if you're an anti-Semite and a denier of the Holocaust. Are we clear? Because I don't care who you are. You have a right under the First Amendment to speak the way you do, but I have a right to call you scum, which is what you are. Every single Holocaust.
I'm going to need you to not rush.
Thank you guys for coming. We're done with the Q&A section.
Let him ask his question. The Talmud says Jesus Christ is burning an accident. What do you have to say about that? Question. What do you have to say about that? Epstein didn't kill himself. What are you scared of?
Thank you guys. This has been awesome. Sorry for these yahoos. Sorry.
Right, okay.
The silent majority is
America first! America first! America first! America first! America first! America first! Shame! Shame! Get the fuck out of here, Cyclops!
Pathetic!
You're better than that, Crenshaw!
Did you get all this on deal?
than 40% of Germans that answered a nationwide survey say they are tired of hearing about the Holocaust. It is the finding of a recent study by the World Jewish Congress. And there's a whole list of worrying statistics. Over a quarter think Jews have too much power in the business world. Slightly less than that think that Jews are hated because of the way they behave. And 12% are of the opinion that Jews are responsible for most of the world's wars. Authorities in Germany have reacted to the survey, saying there's a new high point in anti-Semitism in the country. Well, the poll comes just 2 weeks after an armed man attempted to storm a synagogue full of worshippers in the city of Halle in Germany, where 2 people were shot dead. The suspect, who cited far-right views as motivation, is currently in police custody. Now, after the attack, the German Interior Minister announced that security measures at synagogues are to be improved, with cases of anti-Semitic crime to be given higher priority and funding. The Berlin rabbi we spoke to is urging the German government to put more effort into their fight against anti-Semitism.
The Holocaust came, it was a government-perpetrated event, a government-perpetrated terrible plan to exterminate Europe's millions of Jews by one of the most developed countries in the world. Millions of people were aware of it. 6 million Jews were murdered, including 1.5 million children, in mass extermination. By trying to say that Jewish people are speaking too much about the Holocaust, that's a totally wrong message. On the contrary, only when we have a clear memory of the atrocities of the past can we know how to prevent any negative developments in the future. There's a vibrant Jewish life here. So it's very important that the German authorities do more to combat anti-Semitism and more to combat these types of opinions in order to guarantee the long-term Jewish future in Germany. This recent poll is a very clear sign that things must be done immediately.
There are many more layers to this discussion about big tech censorship. Conservatives are not being censored online the way big conservative names have claimed. These big conservatives encouraging you to play the victim and blame the fact that you're a conservative for any difficulties are lying to you because they only care about fame and money. I'm against playing the victim, and far too often conservatives are quick to play victim anytime their social media accounts fluctuate. The topic of censorship is a controversial one, and I think there is certainly big tech bias against conservative voices on specific social media platforms. But this is a nuanced discussion that can't be summed up as easily as, yes, conservatives.
Not being rude.
Well, I'm not being rude. He's a public official. I have a right to speak to him. Yes.
You just ran into 2 people from New York, kiddo, and we're not putting up with your Republican bullshit.
All I'm saying is that while you and I probably don't have much in common politically, all right, we are American.
You guys don't like our posters?
Yeah, man, we fucking hate you.
Yeah,
we
fucking
hate it. We hate you. I hate you, and I hope you die.
That's awesome. That says a lot about our society right there.
We live in a society where you're a fucking hate group.
Oof.
Eat shit.
Oof. Ooh, he threw it at me.
Hey, man, they eat that shit up. But actually, while you're not filming...
What happened? I missed it.
Yeah, you love that.
Why are you leaving?
Those people who are online making fun of members of Congress are a disgrace. And there's no need for anyone to think that is unacceptable. We're going to shut them down and work with whoever it is to shut them down, and they should be prosecuted. You cannot intimidate members of Congress, threaten members of Congress. It is against the law, and it's a shame in this United States of America. But this is how this president has taken this country to its knees. He has taken this country to its knees People have lost respect for Congress. People have lost respect for the media. And people have lost respect for the White House. So this is something that we are working on. Let's be glad we found it, and we're going to correct it, and we're going to shut it down. Now Miss Marilyn Dean.
Back again. I'm sure we'll have trolls back again. I'm astounded that somebody would actually spend their Tuesday evening harassing a pro-choice live because they've got nothing better to do, but I'm sure they'll come back and that will be okay, and I'll keep doing the lives, and I'll keep banning you, and I'll keep taking screenshots of your comments, and they'll come back to you, and that's just how it is. In any case, going back to where I left, there have been comments about me as a Jew, and you know, I'm always able to answer questions. I'm a Reformed Jew.
I just want to take a moment before I ask my question to validate the pain of our transgender siblings that demonstrated earlier and that have spoken up today, especially Black trans women.
But let me tell you something. Black trans women are being killed in this country. And CNN, you have erased Black trans women for the last time. Let me tell you something. Black trans women are dying. Our lives matter. I am an extraordinary Black trans woman, and I deserve to be here. My Black trans sisters that are here, I am tired. I am so tired. I'm just sitting there, and it's not just my Black trans women, it's my Black trans brothers too. And I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I'm going to say what I'm going to say.
Come here. No, I just want to ask you something. Come here. Tell me. Come here. I want you to talk. What's your name?
I'm Blossom C. Brown.
Blossom, let me ask you.
Google me.
Blossom.
Please Google me.
Blossom, thank you. Let me tell you something. No, don't come on the stage. Don't come on the stage. May I have the mic?
Okay.
May I have the mic? Blossom, let me tell you something. The reason that we're here is to validate people like you. That is why we're giving, but that is why we're here. Okay. But I... Yeah. Hang on, we can't hear you. Blossom, we can't hear you. Here, Blossom, we can't hear you.
Baby, your actions have to speak louder than words, because guess what? Not one Black trans woman has taken the mic tonight. Not one Black trans man has taken the mic tonight.
Yeah.
Show me.
Blossom.
Show me.
Blossom. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Blossom, you're a Black trans woman. You have the mic in your hand. I've taken it and given it back to you. We want to hear from you. We have had trans people of color. We've had all people here, and you're welcome. But we are proud and happy that you're here. We're proud and happy that you're here. Yes, but remember, we're on our time constraint. All right. Thank you, Blossom, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's how anti-Blackness works amongst people of color. That's what anti-Blackness looks like. The erasure of Black trans people.
All right.
I'm here. We're here in this room. Please give us that opportunity.
Blossom, thank you so much, and we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Yes, I got it. There we go.
Today is International Pronouns Day, which is a day particularly important to people who identify as transgender or gender non-conforming. Being misgendered can have a huge impact on somebody and their personal well-being. It also can be used as a form of abuse for somebody, and that just isn't right. Today is about raising awareness, getting people to have conversations, and understanding why it is so important to understand the pronouns that somebody wishes to be used for them.
On June 8, 1967. Next question.
Boo. Boo.
What is upsetting, genuinely, about clapping?
So it's actually not just for people with anxiety, it's also people who use hearing aids. Clapping can be disruptive to that. People who have sensory processing issues, it can be very distressing and overwhelming to have those loud, sudden noises.
But it is part of our culture, isn't it, to clap? If you go to the theatre, or you go to a lecture, or you go to a performance, or you go to a gig, you would expect that people would clap.
Yeah, absolutely. And that could be preventing people from going to those events, which is a real shame. So if some theatres or some universities say, actually, we're going to be more inclusive and do jazz hands instead, that would be lovely. More people could get involved.
And then what would be the penalty if you clapped?
I don't think there's going to be a penalty, frankly. I don't think anyone's going to say, like, you need to leave. But if you were persisting with clapping, even though you've been requested to do something, that's...
And then they use that to cloak their anti-Semitic leanings and their racist leanings. And it's pretty gross. Guys. You guys. And I'll say this. Now we're going to have a little come to Jesus moment. You don't...
I wish you would.
You don't have the luxury of the time that I grew up in, where nothing was online and we weren't tweeting and we weren't on Facebook and things like this weren't being filmed. You guys live in that reality. And you're young and you're not that experienced.
He doesn't like
right
being
now.
on
You're very
camera.
upset and emotional.
He doesn't like being...
Years from now, you're going to regret
Yeah,
this.
he's pissed.
You're going to regret
He's fucking
being
pissed.
on camera and saying some of the things
He's
that you're
fucking...
There's been a lot of fake news circulating, and I think it's time to correct the record. First of all, the European Court of Justice, so everybody knows, is going to decide on November the 12th, which is very soon, whether or not EU law requires the discriminatory labeling of Israeli products. Countries like France implemented regulations that required importers to label Israeli products from the West Bank, from the Golan, from Eastern Jerusalem as coming from a so-called, quote, Israeli colony. There are only two questions before the European Court of Justice. Number one, as I mentioned before, does EU law require the labeling of Israeli goods from disputed territories as coming from an Israeli colony? The answer is no. The second question is, if not, are EU states free to impose their own types of labeling requirements? And I think, again, the answer is no. Despite the fake news being disseminated by certain media outlets, this case will not make things worse for Israeli exporters. If Psagot Winery had not brought suit, the status quo would remain. Israeli exports into the EU from disputed territories would be labeled Israeli colony. Products coming from Israel, aka Jewish products, should be labeled one way, Israeli colony, but products coming from Palestinians, aka Muslims, should be labeled another way, as coming from made in Palestine. That is discriminatory on its face. So what Psagot's legal case does, it doesn't change the status quo, it challenges the status quo with the aim of preventing any future legal cases against Israeli products or companies that refuse to enforce these types of
I'm gonna go to jail for what I'm about to do right now.
I'm gonna be locked up.
I wonder if they got beer in the Polish jail.
I'm gonna miss them when I'm gone.
No Polish jail can scare me today.
Ready? I'm gonna do it now.
3, 2, 1.
Let's go.
Polish Holocaust.
Polish Holocaust. Polish Holocaust.
Polish Holocaust.
Polish Holocaust.
Polish Holocaust.
After 3.5 million Jews were murdered in Poland,
including hundreds of thousands of kids,
the Polish have approved a new law. I will go to jail.
To jail.
So listen, Polish people. What happened during the Holocaust wasn't enough. Repeal this disgraceful law now.
Now. Now.
Now.
Now.
Jews will never again be silenced.
The USA should suspend all ties with Poland.
Before it's too late.
And we will never agree to deny the Holocaust.
In the name of 6 million Jews, sign our petition
The United States must suspend relations with Poland now.
Sign the petition now. I am also in favor of suspension of relations with Poland until the Polish denial law is repealed. Go to www.neverdeny.org. American Jews, always with Israel.
Their dear leader told them to say that before they asked any questions.
No, I actually mean that. I actually mean that. So my question is, I want to know how you feel about the U.S. government giving Israel over $3 billion in foreign aid per year, which is more than what we give to third world countries such as Ethiopia, even though Israel is able to afford socialist policies for its citizens, such as free health care and subsidized college education. Why isn't Israel expected to cut back social programs to make room in their budget for their military, like the United States has to, instead of relying on welfare from a country that has homeless veterans and citizens who can't afford trips to the doctor? So why aren't we putting Americans and America first?
Again, I'll answer your question seriously, and then I'll go into what's really motivating the question, because that's important for everybody to know also. Oh, you guys don't want to hear that truth, do you? Ah, that gets under your skin, doesn't it? What? Actually, I do, because I see what you crazies post online. You forget that the cat's out of the bag. You're not hiding the ball very well.
Okay.
All right. So why do we give aid to Israel? I think it's an important question. We give just over $3 billion a year to Israel. Why do we do that? Well, they're the one democracy in the Middle East. They're our ally. Also, most of that money has to be spent on American goods, just to be clear. So we benefit pretty greatly from that. We also benefit from the technological exchanges that we have with Israel. For instance, some of the things that have saved my friends' lives. Certain tourniquets, skedcos, that's how we carry our wounded off the battlefield. Those are all Israeli developments. I benefit personally from those things, especially given what I've seen on the battlefield. So there is extreme benefit in doing so. You have to understand something about scale also when you're talking about Israel. They're a country that's about the size of the city I'm from, Houston. Okay, so they have to spend a huge amount of their GDP on defense already. It's not unreasonable to think that they do need extra aid in order to fend off the many, many, many people around the Middle East who want them dead, not the least of which is Iran, which has continued to seek nuclear weapons. By the way, Iran just kicked out an IAEA inspector from Iran.
Swastika symbol is now embedded in his front yard.
I like those signs, man. I think they look cool. I like them. It's a Tibetan sign. It's way back before, swastikas was even invented,
When asked if he was Tibetan, he said, "I could be."
Are you Tibetan?
I could be.
Renee Schultz is Johnson's Jewish neighbor.
Do you find it offensive?
Yes. On behalf of 800 million Jews that died with that, yes, absolutely.
Many living on this street are quite simply speechless.
I own this house, and I'll put what the hell I want in my front yard, and it's none of you guys' business. So get the hell.
So where do you go if you're like Alex Jones and you get kicked off of Twitter or Facebook? Or if you're a neo-Nazi that just has to have a swastika in their social media profile picture? Turns out there's a site just for you. There's tons of people on it. Gab is all about free speech, so...
Gab is what it says on the label. Come for the Nazis, stay for the Nazis. It's a nasty platform. My name's Ethan Zuckerman. I direct the Center for Civic Media at the MIT Media Lab. I study social media, and in particular, its effect on activists, its effect on civics.
It's so appalling because the implication of where white people meet is that these poor white people are having trouble meeting, which is not true. The world is our oyster.
Emma Tesler is the founder of the matchmaking service The Dating Ring. She says the majority of her clients do have a racial preference. More often than not, it's white.
For whatever reason, people still feel like it's okay to say, I only want to date white people. I mean, you would never be able to say, I only want to hire white people.
An issue, she says, that goes beyond dating sites.
If there's any experience where people are making negative generalizations about a huge swath of people based on the color of their skin, then we need to be talking about it.
think that I'm not the type of black man that's not going to address white supremacist behavior and white supremacist language, you got the wrong one. Because let me tell you something, when somebody comes up to you talking about a white ethno-state, then I think that that is white supremacist behavior. Like, I don't know. Like, I may be crazy. I may be going off the rails here, and maybe I'm not being super tolerant of white supremacy. But I think that that's pretty much what it is. But it's crazy to me that people that call themselves black Republicans or black conservatives or whatever would align themselves with legitimate white supremacists, okay, to quote unquote own somebody just because, you know, to own me just because I'm gay. So, you know, it's like I'm black and I'm going to side with white supremacists to own the gays. You look stupid. You look crazy.
Good fucking job, DC. Good fucking job. You booed that fat fuck, and that fat slob was up there going, smiling like, oh, this isn't happening. Yeah, it's fucking happening, and it's going to continue to happen, you fat fuck, and your fucking worthless wife, the first lady. She does nothing for the country. Let me tell you something, okay? You're the first president who's never thrown out a first pitch while in office. What's the matter, Tubby? Huh? What's the matter, you fat fuck? You're such a tough guy. Huh? You're afraid of throwing the ball low and outside? You're already taking the country low and outside. Congratulations to the good people of Washington, D.C. Boo that fat animal wherever he goes, wherever he shows up. Boo that fat fuck. And if Dick Stain Donald Trump Jr., his fucking clown-ass frat boy son shows up, boo that clown also. Ivanka and fucking Junkyard Jared also. Good.
Y'all gon' make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me go all out. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me act a fool. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me lose my cool. Up in here, up in here. If I got to bring it to you cowards, then it's gonna be quick. Alright, all your men that been in jail before, suck my dick and all the motherfuckers you run with. Get done with, done quick.
Then that the alt-right has far more in common with the left, another alternative to conservatism, than it does with the traditional American right. Let me try to untangle this. The alt-right has nothing in common with conservatism and is in fact much closer to leftism, except of course that the left is much, much larger. I'm Michael Knowles, host of The Michael Knowles Show for Prager.
It's important that y'all are here. Y'all been attacked for the last 3 years. Y'all continue to be attacked. We appreciate what y'all do. We appreciate you being here today. We appreciate the work you do for the people and telling the truth. That's what we want in everything. I've been ready for 3 years. I've been denied for 3 years. We all know why. I came out here, showed it today in front of everybody. We have nothing to hide. So we're waiting for the 32 owners, the 32 teams, Roger Goodell, all of them to stop running. Stop running from the truth. Stop running from the people. We're out here. We're ready to play. We're ready to go anywhere. My agent, Jeff Nally, is ready to talk to any team, interview with any team at any time. I've been ready, I'm staying ready, and I'll continue to be ready. And to all the people that came out here today to support, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. To the people that aren't here, I'm thinking of you. I appreciate you supporting from where you are. We'll continue to give you updates as we hear. We'll be waiting to hear from Roger Goodell, the NFL, the 32 teams. We'll let you know if we hear from them. Ball's in there.
Dick Stain Donald Trump. Disloyal Dick Stain Donald Trump. Keep the fucking Jews out your fucking mouth. You don't speak on our behalf, okay? Don't try that divide and conquer shit with the Jews, okay? We don't need you speaking on our behalf, okay? You and your tiny little hands and your baby little schmeckle. You fuck you. I never saw you at Shabbat dinner. I never saw you at synagogue. And if you put a yarmulke on the back of that hairpiece, it would slip slide off the back of your fucking head. Remember Charlottesville when they were down there saying Jews will not replace us? And you fuck. You said there's very fine people on both sides. Get the fuck out of here. You don't speak on behalf of the fucking Jews. You and your punk ass, pussy ass son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Keep the fucking Jews out your mouth.
It's the moment we've all been waiting for. The greatest honor for any Jew hater. It's time to select the 2019 Anti-Semite of the Year. Go to our website, www.stopantisemitism.org/anti-Semite of the week to nominate the most vile and offensive Jew haters in the U.S. by November 14th. We will reveal the finalists on November 21st. You'll get the chance to vote for the ultimate anti-Semite of the year. 10 of you suggest nominees and vote for the winner will receive a $180 Amazon gift card. The Anti-Semite of the Year will be announced on December 30th. Who will be crowned the most despicable Jew hater of the year? It's going to be an epic battle for glory as there are so many candidates to choose from amongst the radical right, radical left, and religious extremists. Submissions for nominees starts now.
Out of a story you'll see on just one station, a sign hanging over the Mass Pike in Newton, causing some controversy. It reads, "It's okay to be white." Our cameras were there when a man ripped that sign down. 7's Steve Cooper is live in Newton with a story you'll only see on 7.
Right, so the sign is down this afternoon, but not before it was seen by so many commuters out here on the Mass Pike earlier today, and it led one man who was on the pike with his daughter to pull over and take the sign down.
And they purposely choose the Mass Pike to draw attention to people who are driving and attract attention to themselves.
A large banner with the words "It's okay to be white" hanging over the Mass Pike in Newton for many to see during the morning commute. The head of the Anti-Defamation League of New England not wasting any time in speaking out.
It's pretty disappointing to see people in Massachusetts using a platform like that to disseminate a message that excludes people and targets people.
A passerby who saw the banner before police arrived who took it down.
It's a statement that being white is under attack right now, and it's just not true. That being white is such an advantage in society, and to suggest otherwise is just straight out racism.
Freedom of speech, but questions about the legalities of hanging a sign over the Mass Pike. The ADL says the "It's Okay to be White" campaign goes back 2 years, and it's a matter that must be addressed. So not commenting sends the wrong message.
It's important for people not to be persuaded or attracted to a message like this, because behind the words is bigotry. Behind the words is hate.
All right, now we did talk to Newton Police late this morning about all this. They told us that they handle these incidents when people put signs up over these overpasses here on the Mass Pike. They handle them on a case-by-case basis. They say in this case, they would have urged the person to take the sign down, but by the time officers arrived here on the scene, it was already taken down.
And I'm here today because so many of the people I let down, people close to me, supporters, colleagues, people I've never even met, told me to stand back up, and that despite all of my faults, they still believed in me, and they were still counting on me. And I realized that hiding away and disappearing would be the one unforgivable sin. I will never shirk my responsibility for this sudden ending to my time here, but I have to say more because this is bigger than me. I am leaving now because of a double standard. I am leaving because I no longer want to be used as a bargaining chip. I'm leaving because I didn't want to be peddled by papers and blogs and websites used by shameless operatives for the dirtiest gutter politics that I've ever seen, and the right-wing media to drive clicks and expand their audience by distributing intimate photos of me taken without my knowledge, let alone my consent, for the sexual entertainment of millions. I'm leaving because of a misogynistic culture that gleefully consumed my naked pictures, capitalized on my sexuality, and enabled my abusive ex to continue that abuse, this time with the entire country watching. I am leaving because of the thousands of vile, threatening emails, calls, and texts that made me fear for my life and the lives of the people that I care about. Today is the first time I've left my apartment since the photos, taken without my consent, were released, and I'm scared. I'm leaving because for the sake of my community, my staff, my family, and myself, I can't allow
Good evening. The Regina Public School Board meeting on Pride turned into pure passion last night after trustees voted down a motion to make LGBTQ celebrations mandatory.
While schools still have the option to participate in Pride events, the motion created confusion and sparked anger. Cole Davenport has more.
Kids are gonna die! Thank you for taking time to write. How about an in-person vote? Look at these kids and tell them that they don't matter. You're failing them. Failing. We're asking for respect at this time.
You represent us, our people.
I want respect. I want my child to
listen to the people.
I want you to.
Election day is October 2020. October 2020. Pay attention to who voted how. October 2020.
Your time is up. I think it's important to know that we received many emails.
How can you ignore hundreds of rats? Shame!
But shame! Could I please some respect in order?
No respect!
Trustees! Thank you, Alina.
4 months.
Shame on you!
Emotions running high at a Regina Public School Board meeting Tuesday. The reason, a 4-3 vote against a motion that would have effectively made Pride events mandatory.
I have also started to perhaps be more candid, talking about what I describe and what I believe to be the elephant in the room about my campaign.
What is that?
Electability.
What do you mean?
Electability. You know, essentially, is America ready for a woman and a woman of color to be president of the United States?
America was ready for a black man to be president of the United States.
And this conversation happened for him. There is a lack of ability or a difficulty in imagining that someone who we have never seen can do a job that has been done, 45 times by someone who is not that person. I'll give you a story. I want to just give you a quick story to make this point. I was here in Iowa campaigning for Barack Obama.
I was here.
Right?
Covered
Okay,
it.
so you remember. It was the night before the caucuses, and I was like, tell me what else needs to be done. And they said, Kamala, there's this senior African-American home, residential home, nobody's gone to yet. Can you go there? And I said, of course. The lady who answers, there's a chain on the door that she keeps on. She wasn't expecting anybody. So I'm all exuberant. I'm Kamala Harris. I'm here for the caucuses tomorrow. Barack Obama is on the ballot. Will you come to the caucuses? And she looks at me without any expression, and she says, they're not going to let him win. And I looked at her, and all that in her 85-plus years, all that she has experienced and witnessed, in terms of injustice, indignity. She wasn't about, at this stage of her life, to expose herself to yet another disappointment. And so I say all of this to say to you, I'm aware of the challenges, but I know who the people are. And I know that we have an ability to see what can be.
Hi, Mr. Trudeau. Since your multiple use of blackface became an international scandal, Canada's international reputation has been irreparably harmed. Have you reached out to any African leaders or any leaders from the Middle East to apologize for your conduct?
Canada will continue to engage in a positive, constructive way around the world, standing up for human rights, engaging with leaders right around the world, because we know that promoting our values and prosperity for everyone around the world is good for Canadians and creates better opportunities for everyone.
So that didn't answer the question at all. Have you spoken to any African leaders or leaders from the Middle East to apologize for your personal conduct?
I have continued to engage with leaders around the world in a responsible way during an election campaign. My focus is connecting with Canadians, as I was able to tonight. And I was very pleased to see so many of the questions turn to the environment. In all sections, there was a clear contrast between those on stage who don't think we should be fighting climate change and those of us who do. And again, we are the only party with a clear plan to fight climate change.
Do you think this will hurt?
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
Sure. So I have a question. So from America First perspective, why do we give $3.8 billion to Israel, which is more aid than we've given to Africa, more aid than we've given to South America, and more aid than we've given to the Caribbean combined, which is home to 1 billion poor people, especially when they deliberately attacked the USS Liberty in the 1970s?
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event. That is not acceptable. Do not say that.
Okay, Dean Rusk disagrees with you, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, but that's fine. And then the second part is also, you have the Apollo incident in which they illegally stole weapons-grade uranium. The CIA has reports on this.
Anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic
No, I'm not
rhetoric.
anti-Israel. I'm just asking from America First perspective because it's not in our interest. They act against our interest.
Remember the short question part?
Sure. I mean, how is it in our interest that we give this money to Israel?
All right, so it's required that they have to buy American weaponry. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, the only place where all three monotheistic religions are allowed to peacefully practice. It's the only country in the Middle East where all three monotheistic religions are represented in their government. It's the only place in the Middle East that has any appreciation for LGBT rights whatsoever. It's the only country in the Middle East that doesn't throw homosexuals off the top of buildings when they find them. It is the only partner that we have in the fight against radical Islamic terrorism. And the subtext of your narrative could be extrapolated to say, well, why on earth would we have a partner like Israel? Guess what? The world's a better place because of Israel.